Those things that you've been fighting supposedly on the outside have never been a thing. They've been a figment of your imagination because the only battles that you have faced and are currently facing are the internal battles, are the internal elements within you. Those things that they call demons, DEMON, are actually not what they think or wanted you to believe that they are. You see, demon came from the Greek word daimon, DAIMON, which meaning God, internal source, internal force. And you see, when it comes to demon, is that there's a polarity to that. It's not necessarily inherently bad, or it's not necessarily inherently good. We all have internal daemons. We all have an internal daemon, and it depends on where you are with your consciousness and how much you have accepted your shadow within you, how these elements are going to show up. You see, there's a multitude of elements, of forces, of daemons that make up your internal God self. And so when you don't recognize your shadow, these daemons, these elements continue to show up as emotions. They continue to show up as fear, as anger, as doubt, as all these low vibrational emotions that you've dealt with your entire life. But guess what? That's to expose the aspects of yourself that actually need work. This may sound crazy to some people, but yes, you have internal elements within yourself that have developed over time, right? And they have caused you to be the way that you are today. That's why when you came to this earthly plane, your job, your purpose was to transcend, transmute all of these internal forces, all of these internal elements. It was your job to change these, to transmute these, to alchemize these, and turn them into the positive polarity of themselves. You see, everything has a polarity. Nothing is inherently good or inherently bad. And we wonder, how can I make a change in my life? How can I make a change in my life? And you may be wondering, you feel stuck, you feel stagnant. Have you started with your emotions? Have you started letting your emotions be the gateway to your transcendence and to your growth? Because a lot of times we dismiss our emotions, we dismiss our anger, we dismiss our fears. My biggest thing is, if I'm afraid of something, if I'm angry at something, I get excited now. If I get that feeling in my body where it feels like I'm just raging in anger over something on the physical plane, I know that is something that I have to transmute. There's something within that situation, within that circumstance, that is not sitting right within my elements, and I have to turn that element to the opposite polarity of how it's showing and distributing in my body. Because there should be nothing but love and unconditional joy flowing through our systems. And when we're not on a frequency of unconditional love and joy and blissfulness, then we're not in a true alignment with our soul. We're not in a true alignment with our mission here on earth, and that is to transcend, transmute all of these lower daemons. This is why they don't want you to look into your darkness. They don't want you to look into your shadow, because when you start to look into your shadow, you start to see the truth. Of course, the world has pushed you and strayed you away from your highest and truest form of yourself and who you are, because they didn't want you to see your power. But this is their season to really dive and dig into your power and to find out who your true self is. But you can't find out who your true self is until you transmute this energy, these energies that exist within you. Take it with a stride, take it with a grain of salt when these emotions show up. And I need you to take those emotions and I need you to learn from them. And I need you to look into your shadow, and all those things that you're ashamed and afraid of being, authentically. That's why I always preach authenticity, because when you are authentic, it forces you to go in the shadow. It forces you to be in this version of yourself that may not be accepted by all of society. Of course, all of society is not going to accept your shadows, because most other people don't accept their own shadows. How could people possibly accept you if they don't accept themselves? So the battle that you have to face is the battle within yourself, the battle of the elements, the battle of balance, the battle of transmutation, of ascending, of alchemizing, transmuting, of growth. That's the only path to take, that we must take, to get closer to our highest and truest version of ourselves, because we have the ability to live an abundant, prosperous, and happy life. That can happen right now. It's up here that decides how we're going to live our lives. It's all perspective. Two people could be going through the exact same thing, but it be experiencing it in two completely different ways. So are you ready to really transmute this energy in all of these emotions that you've been hanging on to and holding on to? But first you have to accept them. First you have to look at them, feel them, see them. Start to develop a relationship to how they show up in your body, when they show up in your body, why they show up in your body. Start asking questions and stop being in denial. It's not a time to be in denial anymore about these things that go on within you, your shadows, your demons. You have to see them as energy forces, and these energy forces can show up as good or bad. These energy forces show up on a physical level as well. That's what happens with natural disasters. You see the extreme spectrum and polarity of what happens when fire or when water or when wind goes about and does something on the opposite extreme of polarity. They both have good and bad qualities, but they can cause destruction if they're not in order. It's all about balance, balancing the energies, balancing the elements within you. But to start, you must come to an understanding and just admit that you have these shadows within you. A lot of people don't know where to start, but that's where you start. Speaking to yourself, meditating on it, and being honest with yourself, and letting yourself know that, hey, like, I am angry sometimes. I am sad. I am this sometimes. But how can I take that away from my I am? Because my true I am is a God I am. And once I align with my God I am, and not with these lower vibrational elements, I ams, you become an unstoppable force. You become true to your highest and realest self. Ashe, amen.